I messed that up. This is Chairmen. My friends. Kitty.
Yes. Hello. My name is Kitty Sapphire, your neighborhood illustrator, cosplayer, YouTuber, live streamer, and just all around nerd.
Hi, it's Narciso Distress, your friendly neighborhood plague doctor, coming to you once again from my dungeon in 18th century Europe. It's
I
quite
was
nice
gonna say,
here.
I'm sure it wasn't the one down by Madison Square Garden.
Oh
Shh,
my
quiet,
goodness.
leave that one alone. You leave that one alone. You do not
Anyways,
touch that one.
no, that's the fun one. But continue. Moving on. Happy Halloween for everybody who's watching this after Halloween, and happy early Halloween to those who are watching it now.
Hello.
Hi.
So let's
So-
talk. Oh, sorry.
You go first. I'm sorry. It's just like I'm really happy. This is like one of my favorite holidays in out of the year. So it's like, yay. We get
It's
to
the
talk
best
about.
holiday.
You
It
get
is
to
the
do
best
mischief
holiday.
stuff.
Well, I like the mixture of Halloween and then Thanksgiving and then Christmas. I just love the feel of it.
So the sugar rush of Halloween with all the naughty, spooky stuff, and being thankful you survived whatever pranks you tried pulling, and then followed up with being rewarded for being not getting caught for doing any of that stuff earlier in the year.
Referring to what?
You never went out and did silly string or shaving cream stuff on Halloween?
No, I didn't do that. I mainly I went trick or treating, but I was not like I didn't eat the candy or anything. I just like wearing the costumes, and we did like what is it a costume parade, and I went to several different parties, etc. So
Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
fun.
yeah, it was fun.
I mean, my buddies would always go trick or treating, and we get bored halfway through, so we'd start silly string or shaving cream fights with each other.
Oh god.
And
That actually sounds fun. Wait, with each other?
yeah,
he's like sounds fun. Wait a minute. Wait a
Wait,
minute.
like,
You
you've
had to
seen
break it
Joey
down.
from Friends pop up.
Right?
No, but it was just like just the usual mischief. We wouldn't do anything to damage anybody's property. We try to scare other people. Nothing too serious. But I do actually have a Halloween story before we get into today's subject of spooky gaming stuff.
Okay, or just spooky pop culture. Period. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're by my friend's house. I'm not gonna say where because it's don't want to reveal our secrets where we are. So we decided to walk around. Another one of our friends who's about 20 minutes from his house said, "Hey, we're having a get together. Everybody come in." Mind you, we're back in I want to say junior year of high school. We go party, and then by the time we got out, we forgot there's a curfew in town.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound too good.
Yeah. So we went in smaller groups of like 3 at leaving his house, trying to get back to our other buddy's house before we get caught. And every time a
Okay.
light would come by, I would scream, "Hit the deck," and then just jump into the nearest bush. And my buddy would jump on the
Why?
opposite side because
What if
It's-
there was a crackhead bush next spot? Don't jump into bushes. Crackhead bushes exist. Don't do that.
What the heck are you talking about?
Oh, you ever had those red bushes like around by your windows with a lot of the spikes on them, or like the,
The poison
spines
ivy
on them?
ones.
Those are crackhead bushes, so crackheads don't look inside your windows and try to steal your stuff
Oh.
later.
Oh, I see.
The more you know, kids. The more you know.
And those sticker bushes. No, I don't. I never had those around my
Oh,
house.
yeah.
I would call them
You
crackhead
grew
bane.
up in a nice part.
Hmm?
You grew up in a nice neighborhood, didn't you?
I would have to say I grew up in a very nice, okay neighborhood. It's like it's basically a cul-de-sac, and it's like and it has like a hollow in the back.
Oh, like Ed and Eddie. So did you like try to take quarters from people and get jawbreakers?
No.
He's lying.
Continue. Sorry, Chairman.
No, that's kind of it. We ended up we like
Oh,
every
like,
2 minutes we'd be
Scary
jumping in the
ending
bush.
Where like
Say again.
In the end, we didn't get caught. That was the important thing. But our friends behind us got caught, and they confiscated all their shaving cream. They didn't give them in trouble.
What?
They just kind of said, "Go home,"
Why didn't you stash the shaving cream?
because the cops pulled them over before they had a chance to realize they were there.
Anthony, I gotta teach you to be a better criminal. God damn it!
It wasn't.
I gotta go back
It
in
wasn't
time and
me.
teach
It
this
was my.
younger
It was my
I'm a better
buddies.
criminal.
I was good. It was the group behind us that got caught. They snuck up behind them. We were
It's a
good.
cohesive unit. It's a cohesive unit. If one person goes to the gulag, you all go to the gulag together.
Sure.
Oh god.
But we were in different squads, so we didn't have to go to the gulag because they're on a different team. But we still checked in on them afterwards.
Oh god.
So basically, you like sort of rang the doorbell for like an old man or something like that.
No, we were running around
No,
after
there
curfew.
was a curfew.
Oh, I see. Okay, now I get it. All
You're
right.
such a bad boy.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love bad boys.
We did a lot of Metal Gear
Oh
Solid
my
stuff.
god! Stop!
Oh yeah,
my
Narciso,
God,
you
you're
missed
so-
last week with the impressions.
What do you mean impressions?
Impressions.
What are you talking about?
Oh,
Impressions? Well, what impression?
Kitty.
What?
Don't you
What?
watch
Why? What?
Don't you remember the Hunter,
what-
ex-Hunter thing last time?
Sort of.
Me just doing those really awkward impressions of
Oh my god, no. No, we're not doing this. We're not
Oh,
doing this.
Kitty.
No. No. I'm sorry, people. It's like,
First of all,
like-
that's how you start off a nice Call of Duty match. You go, "Hey boys, give me the best ooh woo." Then you have a bunch of grown men going, "Ooh woo."
That's scary.
Oh my god, stop. You guys are crazy.
That's the mating call of like the single white male on any Call of Duty lobby.
Oh my god.
I think I'm
Oh,
gonna try
yes,
it next
I don't.
time.
I mean, I have such. I don't see the appeal of Hisoka. He's not adorable. He's not that cute. I'm sorry. I mean, okay, no.
I'm okay with it.
He is
Yeah.
physically attractive, yes, but his personality is very creepy. Don't like it.
But that's kind of like what people are raised to like. Like they want the bad boys, the people they can fix, so that they can turn them from being a serial killer or wearing leather masks that are made of people with chainsaws. You know what? I'm not gonna
We're talking
continue
about
that.
leather. Wait. That sounds way too similar to Leatherhead. Like that's
That
like
was- that-
Leatherhead
that
to
was-
the T.
That was what I was talking about. I was alluding to that.
Bad boy wears people's faces as a mask. Yeah, that's Leatherhead.
Wasn't that?
Yeah, I never was a big fan. Actually, believe it or not, despite the fact that Halloween is like one of my favorite holidays, I don't necessarily like being scared. I don't like horror.
Really? I love
Yeah.
horror movies.
I like mythology. I like supernatural stuff. And
I like Queen of the Damned and Daybreakers.
yeah, I like that. I like Charmed. I liked Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I do like Supernatural. I know Supernatural in the title. I do like Lucifer. I did like witches when I was little, even though it scared the daylights out of me. I liked Rocky Horror Show and Little Shops of Horror and Sweeney Todd, the musical version. I know there's another movie that's like a full-on
Tim Burton.
horror base, and I took a look at it. I took a peek, and I was like, it's not necessarily a good idea. So yeah.
So you're more into the, I'm not gonna say spooky side. You're more into like the mythology / like comedy of it.
Possibly like dark humor, like dark humor mainly.
Like Rocky Horror Picture Show, because that thing
Yeah,
was
that's-
darker than.
Or somebody jumping
Cool.
out of a plane and landing in a freaking wood chipper.
Wait, which one was that? Wait, which one was that? In?
That was Deadpool.
N-
That was
Actually, I
Deadpool.
wasn't referencing Deadpool
That's
with
a
that,
horror
but
movie.
that's
That's legit like comedy.
Yeah, but I was like looking away when that scene happened. I was like, "Oh my god, that was
It
horrible."
was hilarious, especially when what's his name, Scatterstar, hit that propeller and just went green everywhere. Oh, that
Yeah,
was
I
funny.
was like, that was terrible.
But
It was funny.
I love my girl Domino, of course.
Domino was actually really good. I'm not gonna lie, that was awesome. They did a great job with her.
But the thing is, yeah, I'm more of like the gothic, more like the air of it. It's not like full on horror because frankly, I like to sleep at night. I like my sleep.
Oh, it's
I
not
really
that bad.
I mean,
Oh,
there's some
no.
bad movies out there that could cause nightmares, like Nightmare on Elm
So
Street.
I recommend.
I don't like Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't like Jason movies. I don't like slashers or anything of that
It's
nature.
actually more funny than anything else when you really watch them. Because how do you not hear this giant ass dude stomping in the hallway where he shoves a machete
Oh
through
no,
the door?
I get mad about that. I get very mad about that movie. Oh my god, I can't watch horror movies anymore because I just get mad at it. Like,
I
why would you
laugh.
do that? Why would you hide behind the chainsaw, or why would you hide in the basement? Leave the house.
That makes also that also makes a lot of sense as well. That's one of the reasons why I don't like horror films as well, is because the stupidity of people going into certain places, and it's like, you
Why are you the way that you are? Tell me.
yeah, it's like you hear all this or you see this or what have you, and like, hello, and it's like, no, my first inclination is basically
Get the hell
I
out.
gotta go, I gotta leave.
So can we technically
I know.
rephrase these movies as Charles Darwin films? Because technically they're just perfect examples of survival of the fittest. Because if you're not smart enough to not go into the freaking cornfield or into the creepy dude's house, half these people would still alive.
It was really stupid. It really is stupid.
Possibly. I would rather see when it comes to the horror movies, some of them I like my psychological thrillers much more than any other thing because psychological thrillers make me so much happier. Because like take for example Shutter Island. That was amazing.
move.
That was fantastic. But there were no jump scares. It was all psychological. There's nothing else around it. It was just you're on an island, you don't know who's who, and then you find out, spoiler alert, but you find out that what's his name is actually crazy, and then he, got lobotomized, and now
Was he
sits
crazy though?
in a tower. Very good movie.
What movie is this?
Shutter
Shutter
Island.
Island.
Shutter Island. Oh, okay. Okay.
Sorry, Leonardo DiCaprio.
I like Leo. Psychological thrillers are very good because they're not blatantly scary. They're just interesting, and they do a good job being what they are, and that's scary. Because jump scares are too predictable now. Any ghost show, I'm just like, why would you go into a house that's haunted? Just burn it down. Like, how hard is this?
Yeah, no, I completely understand that, and I
I
agree.
mean, when they follow you afterwards,
just burn the house down.
they'd follow you though. That's the problem. You keep the house there so they don't escape the house.
Well, then you do the old supernatural route and burn the bones. You find the bones.
But what if they're locked away, but with Davy Jones?
I'm confused now again.
I will. With Davy
no.
Jones, really? With Davy Jones?
Well, throw them in the
Davy
water
Jones,
where you
really?
can't find them.
Really?
A watery grave, really.
Watery grave?
Hey, dead men tell no tales, so you can't find where they are. Actually, you know what? I kind of want to see another Pirates of the Caribbean film, but with a horror aspect to it, like the first one. No, because the first movie was kind of creepy towards the end.
No more. Once again, no more. Please, God, no more.
Johnny Depp needs to be in more movies, and his issue really needs to be fixed.
Johnny Depp needs to be left alone. He needs to win this case against his crazy ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, you gotta be careful. You can't talk about it too loud. The Transparency 2 might catch on to us.
Transparency.
That's interesting.
Yeah, supposedly the big hot topic thing is there's actually a website of this bunch of quote unquote journalists kind of took a bunch of a YouTuber and labeled them if they were anti-SJW, far right, far left, but with very little.
That's everybody.
Yeah, but they
But
actually
that's
use it.
every- but
You got
that's
a big
every
collection of
group.
it, though. It's gonna be used as a tool, and yeah,
That's
hopefully.
ridiculous.
Well, you know how dumb people are. They'll follow. They'll
A
read
tool
the
for
article
what?
title, but they won't read the article.
That's why I don't necessarily like to make comments about certain things without getting the full information.
Exactly.
I might have seen the article, but like my mom always says, you can't make a comment or you can't say you tasted something if you have never tried it.
I like that.
So, but anyway, that's with everything. So that's the reason why, like, for instance, I have tried horror films. I've tried them, but it's just, I can't. Not only the fact that the stupidity is just, technically I was scarred pretty much when I was young, because my mom used to watch the old school black and white Steve McQueen horrors, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers
Oh,
and
that was a good one.
and the Blob, and I'm like,
The Blob.
yeah, I couldn't, and from then on it's just like, yeah, I
Okay, do you consider Jurassic Park series a horror movie?
no, not real.
The first trilogy,
It's
yes.
one of those. It's one of those things that are actually it's in between.
So I'm not talking about the newer one, not so much.
No, I'm
The
talking
older
about
one-
the old
the
school
older
ones.
ones. Those I could consider, like you said, somewhere in between.
Yeah,
Because they were scary at times, but it was a very much an action movie.
right. But and also the fact. Well, I mean, like horror movies do have a meaning. They've been have meaning.
Mhm.
But yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Jurassic Park had a meeting too.
Hmm?
Jurassic Park had a pretty solid
Oh
meeting.
no, it did. It had a
Yeah.
meaning of basically us fooling around or trying to play God or trying to fool around with our environment, cultivating stuff and messing around with stuff. But if you're not careful, it can easily come and bite you right in the butt.
Exactly.
Or in the face.
Nature will find a way.
Yeah. Right. Nature will do what it does best, and it's to live and by any means necessary. It's not willing to be contained. And this comes with any bits of like a horror genre that has to do with like tampering and
With science.
mainly science, the dangers of science, the dangers of basically tampering things with what we don't understand. And that comes from both sides of the gamut. You have some people that are of the occult messing around with supernatural forces, and then you have others that are messing around with sciences, and they peek a little bit too much into
The other side.
certain areas that questions one's morality, and it blows up in their face. The Fly did this too.
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. The Fly did a great job, actually.
It was gross.
I don't remember seeing that one. Then again, I've seen a lot of
There's
movies in
two
my
different
life.
versions.
You know what I would like to see? If they were to reshot the original Jurassic Park and included some of the more horror scenes from the book. Like in the beginning with the baby. The scene with
No.
Samuel L. Jackson's supposed to have. He went into that power shelter.
Well,
And
oh,
but I was gonna
What?
say, yeah, in the book, there's actually a lot more horror in Jurassic Park. Like, there's a scene where they described about how the stormy night and they hear some weird sounds out in Puerto Rico because the dinosaurs were escaping the island, and that's how they got people interested in the first place. And the scene when the power went out, the guy Samuel L. Jackson played actually went into the power shelter and had a fight with one of the velociraptors, which was pretty freaking gruesome. And how the doctor originally died in the first movie. Oh my god, I still can't forget that scene.
Hey, which doctor? Wait, which doctor?
Hold on, the main doctor, not John Hamm.
Oh, the Asian guy. What's his name?
No, in the first book, in the first movie.
Yeah, he was the same doctor. He played all of them.
No, the old man with the staff.
Oh, John.
Was it John Hammond?
John Hammond is his name in the show.
Yeah, John. Well, yeah, in the show.
But I don't know the actor, but the actor passed away.
Yeah.
He looks like the Colonel's Fried Chicken guy. Yeah, I know.
Well, he was
Colonel
Gandalf.
Sanders.
Colonel Sanders.
But yeah, the scene with that, he died with guppies, and it was like the way they described it.
Guppies, what?
You know, remember the second movie, the little dinosaurs that kind of hopped around, little green ones?
Oh, those things.
Oh yeah, those.
So what happened in the book? Spoiler alert, by the way, for the one viewer for the original book, Jurassic Park. The doctor they already had the power out. They were just kind of locked in the compound. He was going for a walk, and when the kid decided to play a T-Rex sound over the intercom, scared the ever-living out of the guy. He falls down the hill, breaks his ankle, spends out an hour trying to get back up, and he eventually gets bit by one of the guppies in his ankle. And he's just like, oh, these little... Why?
French.
And he described how, like, the toxins the guppies have kind of paralyze their victims, puts them to sleep. And it's slowly, like, he's fighting away, but more and more keep coming up, and you just...
Interesting.
Just slow.
Really cool.
Plus, in the second book,
So
actually,
the
book has more horror.
Wasn't the book like made in like the 70s or 80s? Wasn't it made like in the 70s or 80s?
Hold that thought.
That's an old book. Like, so you don't got to say spoiler alerts for a book that old.
Still got to be fair.
No, it's kind of like saying spoiler for Rocky Horror Picture Show. If you haven't seen it, you're missing out, and I'm sorry. I will spoil it.
Well, also here's this: not everything has to be done by the book, and it was considered. Jurassic Park was considered to be treasured because of what it did for its time frame. It expressed a world that was considered unseen. And and I say this to my father regarding this his viewpoints about Thor, because he was not necessarily happy with Thor series, and Thor is one of his favorite superhero. That they didn't go by the old 60s version of Thor, where Thor was actually a spirit, and Donald Blake was the person who found like a stick where Thor's spirit resided in, and every time he would tap on it, he would turn into Thor, and Thor was a good 45 minutes. They didn't do that. They made Thor out to be sort of like an alien instead of a deity or a deity spirit, and John O. Blake was nowhere to be found. And I said, this is one person's interpretation. It doesn't remove the fact that you have all these older interpretations, these books. They don't erase anything. It's just one person's interpretation. And if you don't like that one, there are other versions of it that you could go to.
Oh yeah, look at Superman. If Superman had all this power, if Superman had all his powers from the 60s, it would be dumb as hell because he could create a 1/8 size of himself infinitely from his hand. That means you can have a Superman that would go so tiny that it would become... Sorry, it's so dumb that, like, if you follow older comics, back in the 60s and 70s during the golden age of comics, that's when they were trying to pull people in and try to buy stuff. That's why you had the crossover between Marvel and DC. Would we ever see it now? God no. It's $1 billion it's $1 billion company, actually. Sorry. That is a $1 billion company now. They would never ever do a crossover. Not in a million years. Because it would just cost too much money to have, DC and Marvel come together. But you still have that comic book that's still legendary to this day, where Batman beats the Hulk.
So there you go.
But side note, I found the date. It was 1990, actually. The book was published.
Really? Wait, wasn't the movie made like 10 years out? Not even 10 years.
Like 3-4 years later.
Huh. So yeah, like, you can never make a good... No movie can be better than the book, because you can do so much more with the book. Because, think about it, in the 90s, there weren't super horror movies. Like, you couldn't make a super duper dinosaur horror movie. I mean, now you probably could get away with it with CGI, but they're trying to do more puppeteering. Like, Steven Spielberg had to basically come up with how those dinosaurs looked, on top of the fact that he had to come up with a way to make them look realistic.
Hold on one moment. I mean, like, keep going. I'll be right back.
That's good.
You
But
get the
no, it's
animatronics.
interesting. Yeah, the animatronics, but it was mostly puppets being used. And then on top of that, besides the puppets, you also had to deal with the fact that you had very limited CGI. Not like we have now.
That's true. But then again, since it has been so many years later, would people be willing to watch a remake of Jurassic Park, but include more of the horror elements from the books? Like in the second book, there's actually a scene that kind of
So
is
that
interesting.
would. So if the book is really good and the book has more horror, I'd rather just make it into a series because books deserve. So books need a longer platform to expand upon a story than um, than other movies do. Because an actual movie only needs 2 hours. A book needs like 7
6.
to 8 hours. No. This is like a seven. Like some books need like look at Game of Thrones. The reason why Game of Thrones was so good is because that they spent an hour on every episode, and every episode was what? Every season was what, 7 to 10? No, not seven. Like 7 to 9 episodes long. That's essentially a 9-hour movie. Look at look at what's it called? Look at
Sure.
Good Omens on Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime is doing a fantastic job with Good Omens. Or look at The Boys. The Boys is it deserves a series. The comics were really good. I never read the comics. I've heard great things about them, but the boys deserve their own little thing.
I agree. I mean, I guess when it's depending on the material, like I know, like I said, Jurassic Park, the book was good, the horror elements, but there's also a lot of dry elements.
Well, yes,
Yeah,
but that's what happens when you have a
yeah,
book. You have dry, and then you have the good meaty stuff,
that's true.
kind of like a sandwich.
I was gonna say quesadilla.
No, quesadillas are usually mostly wet.
Yeah, but if you put everything together right, press it good. Now I'm getting kind of
Well,
hungry.
they say the same with the sandwich, but sandwiches, you have more bread there. So sometimes it's like think about using like a baguette. If you use a baguette terribly, it becomes a dry sword.
That is true. Actually, speaking of the boys, that reminds me of a very interesting comic I have found in a comic bin once. Did I ever tell you the story about the Pro?
No.
Okay, so this is probably the most bizarre comic I've ever found. It's about a hooker who gets superpowers and tries to
Oh, that's
become a
awesome.
superhero. Oh, it gets funnier. And she has to deal with like the ideal types of like the superheroes. She actually shamed their version of Superman by rewarding for saving her kid. And he almost took out a plane, let's put it that way, and he flew up without pants on. But it does
Really?
bring, yeah, there's a lot of interesting aspects of it. Like they had a scene where it's like, where the hell were you guys during 9/11? It's like, oh, we were fighting like the ovular. Like, that's not a real freaking thing. You guys should have been here helping us. I'm like, wow, that was a bit dark, but I guess then again,
Oh, wait a second. It's called the Pro, right?
yep,
Huh. Interesting.
yeah.
That sounds really cool.
That's why whenever you go to your comic shop, you should always check the quarter bins or the dollar bins. I literally paid
Huh.
$1 for that plus 30 other comics. That's how I also got introduced to the Max.
The Max.
That's another very trippy show. They actually made a cartoon on MTV. It's about how's the best way to describe the Max? The dude in a purple suit with like spiked claws. In our world, he's kind of a homeless man to a degree.
Okay.
But when he falls asleep, he goes to some place called the Outback, which is kind of like a dream-esque world. And he
Okay.
has to deal with a supervillain called Mr. Gong, who's kind of a sociopathic serial killer that affects both realms. It's
Sorry about that.
It's okay. We're talking about the Max now.
Okay. What?
It's a hard comic to explain. It's a
Okay.
cartoon that was on MTV about a dude who's able to travel through a dream world called the
Okay.
Outback, but in our world, he's like a homeless person who gets help by a woman who he believes is the queen of the Outback because he sees visions of her in the other world.
Hmm.
It's a very fun series to read. They actually last year did a crossover where with Batman versus the Max.
I am
And-
not surprised. Batman versus anything and everything. He's like Superman. Superman versus
Sure.
everybody.
But you know what? It makes sense because they had to deal with all the villains of Arkham, like going through their mental states and dealing with their dreams, kind of affecting the world of the Max. Also, you're right. The Batman's pretty much versus everybody. I've seen I actually have a copy of Batman vs Spawn. Believe it or not.
That comic
That's
book
actually.
series, that comic book series, I would kill to have the entire thing, but they're so.
It's only
expensive.
one issue.
I love Spawn.
Oh, Spawn,
I
yeah.
absolutely love Spawn. Spawn is like
So
one of my
here's
favorite characters.
So here's a question. What is your favorite sort of like what are the movies that you like to watch during the Halloween season?
Oh, so I have a funny story about that. So in college, every Halloween, I would try to watch Danny Darko. So I would go and find it online.
Who's Danny Darko?
The movie Danny Darko is basically a movie about a kid who's slowly going insane, but he's being what's it called? He's being communicated by like this multi-dimensional rabbit thing who's trying to save his life because he's trying to stop the end of the world. And it's slowly driving him insane. It's very good. It's very mind-bendery and mind-twisty.
Okay.
I recommend it. So I tried to watch it online when I was in college. So I downloaded it once, made it through halfway, stopped working, so I just didn't finish it because I went to sleep. Next year, tried to do the exact same thing, made it a little bit farther past that, didn't work, went back to sleep. It finally comes on Netflix, and I watched the entire thing twice.
That's hilarious.
Is this still on Netflix, by the way?
I don't know. Let me check right now, because if it is, I might watch
What?
it.
Why did you suggest that?
It's something. It's a movie I always wanted to see.
It's very good. So it's not really like a horror. It's more of a psychological horror. I recommend it highly.
Well, not
But
all
that's like my
stuff.
number one.
I'm sorry, but that's cool. Well, not all movies have to be like horror on Halloween.
Oh no. I don't think it is. It's not on Netflix anymore. Oh no. Sad face. Other than that, I think another good one to watch is a funny movie, and I highly recommend Casa de Mi Padre from Will Ferrell.
I don't know what that is.
It's a Spanish film by Will Ferrell. It is done mostly in Spanish. It is the funniest thing in the world. It is the perfect thing to watch after a horror movie because you will forget it entirely because you'll be staring at the background and looking at the terrible backgrounds. There is a legitimate, like one of those stuffed tigers that you get from like the fair.
Yeah.
They have that in the background of the sequence when he's talking to a tiger. It is fantastic.
Okay, that's
It is so bad it's good, and I recommend it to everybody that I see if they want a good laugh. I highly recommend it.
Okay.
Other than that, yeah, I like mixing my horror and my comedy. Like if I'm watching a scary movie, I'll watch a happy movie afterwards. It's kind of like watching what movie is that I like to watch? It's kind of like watching oh no, what movie is that with the dude with the red face? Oh, I can't think of it now.
Red Skull?
No, he's horror movie with the red face. I can't think of it. Face guy. No, Insidious. There we go.
Oh,
Insidious.
God.
So Insidious is really good, but you have to watch a happy movie afterwards to make you feel better. Also, don't watch SpongeBob after watching Insidious because the song in the Demon Dude's lair is the same song played in the first episode of SpongeBob when he makes the hamburgers for all those sardines. FYI.
Wow.
Wow!
Yeah, so the song's called Tiptoe Through the Tulips by a guy named Tiny Tim. Dude looks freaky. He looks like the son of Marilyn Manson but the awkward version of Marilyn Manson's son. And the whole song's done in ukulele. Let me see if I can find a picture. And
No, that's all right.
Sure?
I'm good. Yep, I'm good. See, one of the things about being an artist, well, at least for me mentally, I can picture it in my head.
Yeah, so he's
So
essentially.
yeah, I don't. So I don't need. Yeah, I don't need that right
No,
now.
no, no. He just looks like the awkward version of Marilyn Manson, basically. Seems like a really normal dude, like if you see him walking around, but like once he puts on like just the regular white makeup and like his sort of outfit, like once he puts black clothes on, he looks like Marilyn Manson, but outside that, he looks like a banker. Like he'd be like a bank teller at like an HBC or like an HSBC or something.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but yeah. So don't watch SpongeBob after that, FYI, kids. The more you know.
Okay.
Oh yeah, trust me. There's some really weird references that you can find with a lot of movies.
That's kind of crazy.
You mean like JoJo?
Don't you start with JoJo right now.
Oh,
I don't want to hear
okay.
about JoJo Siwa right about now.
Then
Well,
we
that's
won't talk about it.
I'll say this: it's a good series for the Halloween time. Or Drifters.
Well, I'm saying not necessarily a series, but what is your particular like movies that you like to watch during Halloween?
The Nightmare Before Christmas.
That's only for Christmas.
That's like a given. Like
that's
what?
Scary Godmother.
That's like our entire generation's identity is that we all have one piece of clothing that is either Jack Skellington or the Bride.
Oh, Corpse Bride. Corpse Bride.
Yeah, it's either we have one piece of clothing from either one of those, and that's our entire generation's like aesthetic.
That's funny.
I can see that. I can believe that.
Yeah.
Actually,
I know people who have earrings, who have backpacks, like, and this is from like when they were in high school, and they still have them.
I feel like you called out about like the majority of the people who'll be watching this later.
Hi.
You know, actually, I kind of want to see Tim Burton make another movie in the same mindset of all of them.
Okay, this is what I do. Close your eyes. This is every Tim Burton movie. We need Johnny Depp and we need What's Her Face in a movie.
It's just like the guy who made Resident Evil. If you see his wife, you know he's the director.
Of course, yes.
Speaking of that, Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter.
You know he's doing
like
the Monster Hunter the movie.
Oh, he is? I didn't know that.
Yeah, but to answer your question, Kitty, The Book of Life would probably be one movie I'd probably watch during Halloween/fall time.
Oh, okay. The Book of Life. I remember that, where the Matador the Matador. It's first of all, it's beautiful. It reminds me of Coco.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me started.
That's another movie I would
well, it's around Halloween, but that celebration is like around in November.
Yeah, yeah. No, wait.
Dia
de los Muertos.
Thank you.
See, the thing I liked about it is it's the same guy who did the El Tigre series, which is an amazing cartoon on Nickelodeon. The similar art style to Marionettes. I'm pretty sure some of the voices were in there too, now I think about it. Manny Rivera.
Do you remember Lucha Libre, or is that just me?
No, I remember that when I was a kid.
My spleen!
I remember that.
Why hasn't Warner Bros. Brought that back or put it on full complete Blu-ray so we can watch it?
Because they're spleen.
They're sticklers, probably.
Actually, hold that thought. I'll be right back. It has to do something with Mucha Lucha. They made another movie similar to it.
But as for you would watch. So what would you? So you would like to watch Book of Life? Is there any others?
I think Chairmen said Book of Life. Okay, what would you like while Chairman runs away? What would you like?
What would I like?
What do you like to watch for Halloween?
Oh goodness, there's
no more kids at the door. You're gonna go get some popcorn, some candy. You're gonna get a bowl of popcorn.
More bowl of popcorn. I like to start like Nightmare Before Christmas and The Great Pumpkin are kind of like a given. Those are like
Okay.
classics that I watch every year.
Okay.
But I also like watching Lost Boys. The Lost Boys is a classic.
Okay. That is a classic. Okay,
Uh,
okay, I can give you that.
Fright Night is another one
Fright Night, okay.
that I would like to watch. Um, what else is one that is
Adam's Family. Any
Oh
Addams
yeah, both Adams Family. I watched those back to back. I still to this very day, Angelica Houston in that movie is just like flawless.
Oh yeah.
Flawless. And just to hear that what she had to go through in order to pull that off, it's like wow. She's like extremely professional, and I have to give kudos that she had to go through all that agita to pull off that.
Wait,
And-
I never heard that part. What's that part about?
Excuse me. Oh my goodness, the pain that she had to go through while doing it. It's like she had to put on like corset on top of another corset, and she had a large amount of makeup where her eyes were basically, her eyelids were basically what is it, constantly open. It had to be sort of like glued open. So and then she had to put
Really?
that, then on top of that, it's like her eyelids were basically pushed open, taking like sort of like a sticky adhesive, keeping those open, and then she had to wear like a strap that was like around her
Okay.
head, and it caused it to hurt underneath that wig. And then on top of that, she had to wear 2 corsets to get that little itty bitty teeny tiny waist that you see Morticia is in.
Yeah.
She couldn't lay down, she couldn't sleep with that. She could hardly drink any water with that stuff on. And she had to do this with also pounds and pounds of makeup to make sure she had this like really pale look. And that lighting that gives like the Bela Lugosi light where it highlights the eyes. Imagine that where you can't necessarily blink, so your basically eyes are tearing up and watering during that time frame. So you have this constant light in your eye, you have a headache, you have this crap pulling back your eyelids that you can't necessarily blink too much, if not at all. With pounds and pounds of makeup and a corset basically squeezing your rib cage in. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm one of the few who like corsets, but like there's a
fine line.
Yeah, they're a fine line, but my corsets are comfortable. They fit to my proportions, and I'm not doing a whole entire like squeeze into. So, after that, after the final take with her as Morticia, for both Addams Family, she burned her costume. She burned her costume because she hated it so much, and it's understandable. It's understandable after all that. Yeah, so I now that I'm a little bit more enlightened and I know all about that, it's like, wow.
That explains why they did this CGI movie.
Huh?
That explains why they went with CGI instead of doing another live action movie.
Yeah, it would have been too much. I would have loved if they did a live action though. I would have liked Christina Ricci to be Morticia, because she did like what in recent years. She did a picture of herself.
Shoot,
Huh?
She did a photo shoot. I think she did 2 or 3 pictures.
Yeah, and she was Morticia, and I was like, actually, you know what? That would be fitting to have the daughter, replace the mother.
Oh yes, of course. It would be a callback. It would be a callback to the older generation.
Yeah,
and it would also show but Christina Ricci looks like Angelica Houston, which is surprising. It's very surprising.
They could definitely be like mother and daughter. Definitely mother and daughter. So it's like,
I think now that you have this new generation who's never seen it, I think you can get away without doing a corset or without doing such a tight corset.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think we're in that generation, but we're also in that generation where I don't know how people would react to Gomez. Because Gomez...
Oh, they would hate his ass.
Why?
Gomez
Why?
is a lot.
Well,
Gomez
I don't know.
was set-
Gomez...
I don't care what anybody says. Raul Julia, who played Gomez, he was sexy. He was sexy as all hell.
He was fantastic. He was
Oh my
awesome.
God,
he's a
he
man's
was-
man.
Oh my God, he was gorgeous. He was sexy. He was debonair. He was suave, and he loved his freaking wife so much. Even
Absolutely
when he was at his low point, he was still adorable.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I can't agree with that. With what you mean, as in how they're going to.
Well,
Like,
no, because thing about okay, I'm saying it as in the fact that parents now,
Mhm.
if you see that on TV, parents are gonna freak out nowadays.
Why?
And I mean,
What's wrong with Gomez?
He's kind of
because of the way they
hypersexual.
act together. Because if you, it's that what's the word? If you, there was a post I think on Facebook where I was looking at the script, and the script basically details that Gomez and
Morticia?
Morticia essentially just want to bang all day. That's all they want to do. That's their entire driving thing, is that they want to bang all
Well,
day, never stop.
Or sword fight.
I understand that.
well, I
No,
think.
that's him and Lester. Not
Well,
Lester.
Okay, I think I read that. I think I know exactly
Lester.
which article it is, and I think it's a misconception.
But
It's
but
not.
no, but but
Okay,
that's the feeling that you get when you watch the movie, is that they're so in love that all they want to do is sit around all day and have fun.
yeah.
And
Um,
I
it's-
like that, but I don't know, with everything being so regulated and not regulated. Regulated is the bad word. With everything being
So
having
prudish.
to be PG-13 for kids. Not prudish. I mean, I think
It is kind of prudish.
I mean, if they
though.
can't deal with
it
the
is
romance and the
prudish to a
love,
degree.
they're a bunch of prudes.
Well, I mean, it's okay. Yeah, okay, fine. I would have to say it's prudish to the point where you can't even speak of it. Like me personally, for many, what's disappointing about all that is because for the longest, and I agree with a lot of people who've written, like I read the article, and it's not necessarily just hybridization of sex of interest. I'll just say it like that, interest in one another, but it's also, they talk about a little bit more of the kinky side, more of the BDSM
Yes.
type of relationship.
Yeah.
I think that's where the mistranslation comes from. That that it's not necessarily sexualized, or I mean it is sexualized, but
there's more culture behind it. It's not just about the sex, but the
right.
power
And
behind
then on top of that, I think out of all the many medias that I've seen, you don't get a lot of happy relationships going on.
Oh no, God no.
It's hard to write a conflict with that, though.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
That
you're right.
that's the problem. People don't seem to know how to write a good, healthy relationship between two people, or group, whatever type of relationship that they're in. They don't seem to know how to write it. And if it's not considered interesting, if the group or the relationship is stable. But I can tell you what, 3 medias that I know for a fact that is interesting, that has a couple dynamic. Actually, 4 instances of a couple dynamic. The first couple dynamic that I have to say was really interesting to me was Sailor Moon.
Okay.
Sailor Moon was a huge positive in the dynamic, because you get to see how they met, you got to see how they treat each other, how they met, how they grew from just picking each other, sort of like this brotherly sister type of relationship, to an actually full-on love relationship. And there was actually drama. that yeah, sure, I think it's now that I'm older, it's like it's kind of stupid that that you would basically give up a relationship based on a dream that you have. But when you're fighting the forces of evil and dealing with all these supernatural creatures, I can see why he would have, Darien would have, or Endymion or Mamoru in the Japanese version, Mamoru would basically give up his relationship to Usagi.
Mm-hmm.
So, but even in the manga and the comic books, they always have these their chemistry with each other is so hilarious. She's really, really like a kid like at heart, and he's like sort of like taking care of her in that respect. And then even when they become rulers, there's some times in the manga where they mention that when Queen Serenity or Serena or Usagi gets sick, Mamoru also calls out sick. So
Mhm.
when they have any meetings or something like that, and they're both out sick, they're probably gallivanting or having some personal time with each other. But stuff like that makes it funny and interesting. Another example of a positive relationship is the Addams family, Gomez and Morticia. Yeah, sure, they have a lot of the underpinnings of very sexualized relationship, but Gomez adores her,
Mhm.
constantly adores her, no matter what. Even when they were just talking in the graveyard, and she's like, I'm just trying to be a modern woman, trying to have it all, loving a loving husband, a wonderful family, but I wish that I could, go out and seek the dark forces and join their hellish crusade. That's it. And without question, he's like, oh, then if you say it, say it. If this is what you want, so it shall be. And that's how it propelled the story of getting a babysitter for Pugsley and Wednesday and Pugsley. That he is willing to basically let another person in his home to make sure his wife is happy. Little things like that. Besides,
Yeah.
yes, these, the quips of, the sort of like kinky aspects of each other. But they also support each other. Also the same thing, somebody actually, what is it? Somebody did a review on this not too long ago on YouTube, how Morticia supports Gomez when Gomez was depressed because his brother betrayed him, and they're living in a hotel. Nowadays, some women would say, oh, you're nobody. They would put emphasis on how crappy their relationship is, and they would crappy their situation is, and then put it on the man,
Yeah.
or
Well,
put
that's
it
kind of the
on,
culture we've been raised in nowadays.
right. But Morticia doesn't do that. Morticia goes out and gets a job. She's like, she goes in for an interview, and then she ends up teaching some kindergarten kids, even though she ended up scaring them and causing them to cry. But the fact is, she didn't.
Like a good
She
kindergarten teacher does.
right. She didn't complain. What she did was she supported him. She decided to support the family. She decided to get a job in order to help out what she could to help out her husband. So, when, he gets out of this depression, hopefully, he'll feel better. Heck, when she threw herself in harm's way because her husband was not, up to par and knew exactly why he was down. She was hoping to reason with Fester, in hopes to bring the family back together. So, minus the quote unquote over sexuality, I do say quote unquote because it's based on your point of view and how you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh she's supportive, he's supportive, and they show a different dynamics of love in that regard. Not just solely the sensual part, but also they have each other's back when things get tough, or they want certain things, and they support each other in that light. Another example is dare I say it, one of my favorite animes of all time, Hellsing.
Oh
Yes,
God.
Oh,
Alucard doesn't come out and say it that he likes Integra. He shows it on numerous occasions. That is his master. Even though their relationship is master and servant,
yeah.
you can read underneath the lines that ha ha ha, Alucard, you like Integra, and Integra, you like Alucard. You guys
Yeah.
basically.
It's like that brother sister relationship kind of thing that they go
no,
back at each other. Well, from what I remember, they kind of
brother and sister.
Well, okay, that's
No,
the.
no,
Well, it
no.
depends on the fanfic you read, but I'm just saying, like, they have that little bit of a. Even though she's in charge, he still kind of gets at her goat, and she gets at his goat to a degree.
Yeah,
then again,
but
it's been a
that
while since
relation partners in a romanticized relationship does do that too. That's why they,
Yeah,
it's encouraged to basically have somebody as a friend, and then if you like each other on a more, higher level, then you go the, the extra mile, or you go take that extra step.
well,
But
that's what it used to be
clearly,
to a degree, though. I feel like nowadays a lot of people go into relationships more for security, so that if, like, let's go back with Gomez, when he reaches that bottom, it's easier to blame the other partner instead of trying to work together to build each other up. They're going for, okay, I want money, I need a sugar, so I'm gonna get into a relationship here. When it falls apart, I'm just gonna walk away. It seems like, to a degree, I'm not saying everybody does it, but it seems like that's a more cultural normal thing now. Versus,
I get what you're saying.
yeah,
Instead of marrying for love, you marry for security and more
yeah.
business situation. But I think that's been going on for centuries.
But it's
Even
been more
before we were
prevalent
born.
nowadays. So I feel like even before COVID, I'm just saying, like, it feels
So
there's a lot more.
so okay,
But
wait a second. But like
but
in the TV aspect, a lot of those TV couples are written in as a as a comedy, as a comedic
Well, of
value.
course, but I'm saying, like,
Like
from what you've
look
seen
at
from Friends and Family.
okay, well I mean a lot of them are. There's few that aren't. Like Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
yeah.
They weren't for comedic value. They
Oh
were
no.
for more a no, I'm saying they were there for actual couple. They weren't very comedic. They didn't have the problems like you saw in Married with Children. Anybody
No.
remember that show? Or is that just
Yeah,
me?
but no, no, no.
Love and marriage.
Love and marriage,
Yeah,
love
love
and
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So like, there's that because like, or you can take for example, Home Improvement with Tim the Tool with the Tim the
Oh
Toolman Taylor.
yeah.
Huh?
Okay.
Okay, that's okay.
Really?
That is okay. No. Think
Been
about
a
it.
while
They
since I've seen
liked
that
each
one.
other, but he did do dumb shit, and I understand that. But it wasn't as blatant as Married with Children. As Married with Children was
Yeah, they
blatant.
did
He
some dumb. Yeah, they
hated
did some
her.
really. Yeah.
He despised her. At least in Home Improvement, it was more realistic. Like same thing with Fresh Prince of Bel Air. It was very realistic. I'm
Well,
not
they
gonna
didn't.
lie.
No, they didn't. They didn't. What? Are you talking about Vivian and Uncle Phil? No,
Yeah,
they always. No, they were a loving family.
yes,
They
that's
were,
what I'm saying. Like I'm showing like there's the Married with Children. They hated each other. Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil, they loved each other, and there was
yeah, it was
they
a.
were they had their comedic points, kind of like
Yeah.
in Home Improvement. They had their comedic points, but they were still a loving family. When you take into account like well, let's say Married with Children is the best example I can think of. I can't think of anything else where like they legit hated each other, and that was in every episode that they forced that down your throat.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't that was like sort of the turning point for when you went from the Leave It to Beaver sort of family to
Yeah.
like a goddamn hate this woman. Like in
Yeah.
every
The
episode.
modern
Like
family.
every episode, it was the same thing.
No,
Oh,
I.
Modern Family is very good because
Oh, no, I wasn't saying the
Sofia
show. I'm saying, like, the
Vergara.
quote unquote modern family of that time.
Oh yeah, sorry. Because in Modern Family, they pretty much are all kind of normal. I want to say. Yeah, I think Modern Family, they're all kind of normal. I
Well,
mean, there's obviously
they're showing the different trials and tribulations of different types of relationships. Like you had
yes,
a relationship where you had a middle age relationship, and this person goes to a midlife crisis. You have a relationship where you have two ethnicities from different, different cultures, different cultures and different backgrounds, trying to get along and dealing with the drawbacks of having one, dealing with the outside world, dealing with their families. Then you had a same sex couple, you had a gay couple that was dealing with their situation, their trials and tribulations. And then you had another couple that had, their situation was, uh their the their relationship, their age was they dated, and it was a huge age gap.
Yeah.
The guy was a lot more older, and the other one, the wife was a lot more younger.
Yeah.
So, dealing with that little chestnut.
Yeah.
So, these are all the that's what the whole entire premise was, is to deal with various different types of relationships, and um got to see deal with and how they related to each other, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
what how they went from how they grew with each other, and how
Yeah.
much an effect they had on each other.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. But that's like the first time in a long time where we had. I think that was like the first ever show where you had that different dynamic. Like
Yeah.
there was there was never a show like that. Like that was like that's why it lasted for what I think like 15, 16 seasons.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
because it was written well and it had actual tangible problems in it. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't it has its sitcom moments, and I understand that that's every show, but it's one of those shows that actually showed a loving family, and that's rare to see when you have a sitcom.
Right. So
Uh,
going back to the main point, which was the Adams family.
Yeah.
yes, best thing in the world.
the
10
fact
out of
of
10.
the fact of the matter is, I feel saddened that people um wouldn't like Gomez and Morticia, because of the fact that this is how they relate to each other.
Yeah,
They're supposed to be kooky and off the beaten path from mainstream relationships.
yeah,
That's always been their MO. But also at the same time, they show a different dynamic of what a relationship, is
Could
like.
be.
That, technically there are some people who have a much more longer quote unquote honeymoon period than everybody else. Or we always were brought up on the idea that having this type of relationship was considered to be boring
hmm
and
you're right.
non-interesting.
Yeah.
You're right.
So it's how it's how they relate to each other, and how how they relate to each other in a positive light. It's not, it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be, right, it shouldn't be, just one note. It's
Mhm.
never been one note. Our lives aren't one note, and it shouldn't, we're not all cut from the same cloth. I'm sorry.
And you're right. No, you're right. That's why I like it. That's why it's so good, is because it shows that you don't have to have that honeymoon phase end. Like, think about them. They were like the best parents ever. They supported everything their kids did. Think about the first movie um when Wednesday and
Ugly did
Pugsley they cut
that
the
crazy
cut his
play.
arm off, and there was blood going for a solid 4 minutes, and
That
they
was
should have
there.
laughed. They were like the best parents ever. Like
That was
they always,
hilarious.
yeah, they supported everything that their kids did, and that's what made them such. That's what made them so good. But also, I think it was also that See, now it shows more because now you have like the Real Housewives show where it shows that like there's these women, and I mean not just women, but there's these housewives that just sit around all day, drink wine and pop Xanax, and they don't understand that they can have a happy life. When you have Morticia, who's just like, oh look, the arm came off. How nice. It's interesting. I like that. I love that dynamic because I think during the TV series wasn't that like a running thing where like their neighbor was like this super uptight like
Norm.
Karen and
Yeah.
like they were just this willy-nilly like, oh look, I love gravestones.
Well, it goes to basically it's just stating that how much the simpler things in life are a lot more. They're going to be there. They're going to be there, and they're going to last a lot longer versus sort of like what we consider as yeah, and versus like the more materialistic things.
Oh yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Like they enjoyed the
Passion.
simpler things. They enjoyed dancing and eating breakfast and worshiping the Dark Lord
And
Cthulhu.
trimming the heads in the garden.
I can't say that, but yeah.
No,
So
it was interesting. It was very. I love. I actually that was like probably one of my favorite movies growing up and shows. Adam's Family. It was
yeah,
fantastic.
it is. It is. It really is.
So, odd fact, just now found out that Morticia's middle name is Frump.
From Adams.
Morticia Frump Adams. Like, you know what? I decided to go on Wikipedia a little bit.
Morticia-
It just
Morticia Frump. Okay.
that word.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's
That's
kind of
funny.
I know it throws things off right now, but it's funny just looking at. I always wondered, were Gomez and Morticia always like this before they met each other? Or were they normal people that just had suddenly a twisted sense of decency?
No, they were always like this because it seemed like especially when they described it in the movies that when they first met they were young. They were in their teen years or in their like early 20s or like they're between like 18 and
24.
early 20s thing, and they met at a funeral, and they said they met at a funeral, and they said like Gomez, like, you were so beautiful nobody was looking at the corpse, and they said, oh yeah, they still the corpse. And she says she still suspected your cousin, Gomez's cousin, who did the murder. So yeah, I think they were always like this. They were always into the dark and macabre type of, because that's not something that necessarily is quote unquote learned. I mean,
to a degree, I feel like it could be.
Sorry, I take that back. It's a mixture of nature versus nurture, and the fact that they come from a family, they're aristocratic family that comes from, fiends and these mass murderers. So
I kind of want to see more of this world again. It's been a while since I dabbed into this. It's like, it's just a fascinating idea that it's a nurtured, possible.
Think about the world that think about their specific world that they live in. Look at Cousin It. Cousin It is a giant walking pile of hair.
Yeah, I did not condone people taking video of me when I was younger.
Look at Lurch. Lurch legitimately is a Frankenstein monster. And then look at Uncle Fester. Uncle Fester could put a light bulb in his mouth and make it glow.
So
what other
that's
person
a sparkling
does that?
personality.
So they are, yes, the sparkling personality.
It's that world they live in.
It's clearly there is some kind of supernatural means. So basically you're suggesting that there is some kind of supernatural means to their lifestyle, which makes sense.
No, you're absolutely right. Yes, it makes sense, but like, okay, let's take some of the movies for example. Like a lot of the movies revolve around them having buried treasure, basically. Like they have this treasure that keeps them wealthy, and then they each fight over it, and they each murder each other to get the fortune. And it's just
when did that concept?
It might have been the old
remember
show.
when they said at the funeral that what was it that I think it was when they were talking about the funeral, and nobody, like when you were talking about how nobody was looking at the corpse, and
yeah,
and he said that he murdered his brother, or he murdered his cousin, I think,
yeah,
and like he got away with it. But then like that gave the example that everybody was trying to go out and kill each other because they were all trying to. I can't. I have to go back and watch the movie. I have to go back and watch the movie.
That's a bit of a stretch.
Because I think that
they alluded to it
Oh,
basically at some point.
yes, they alluded to it, and I just can't think.
Because they didn't seem to like have any inclinations. Because if that was the case, I
There'd
would
be
think
more assassins, wouldn't there?
yeah, there would be more assassinations in the Addams family. It seems like, you know, they're just like, some of them are mad. For example, what is it? What is it? When Morticia was going with Fester through the graveyard and basically going over the different family members that were killed, such as was it Cousin Fledge, who was torn apart by horses, what is it, the great mom and dad Adams, who was basically killed by a mob, an angry mob, which is basically would have been Wednesday and Pugsley's grandparents. They were killed by an angry mob. Aunt Lavidia, when they played Wake the Dead, was basically killed by her own children. She was decapitated.
Yes, that's where I kind of got it from. Where like,
but it seems like just in general they're very off-putting in like, and it shows even in their relationship. Wednesday and Pugsley. Wednesday electrocutes her brother. She basically plays William Tell with him strapped to a pipe.
But you never done that with your cousins or family members?
Huh?
Never mind, I'm not incriminating myself again.
Wait, what happened?
Continue.
Was it Wednesday? One time she was strapped to a chair and she was gagged, and Pugsley was showing Uncle Fester what type of poison should I use. So it's common to kind of torture the family members. Maybe not to the point of killing them, or sometimes it gets to that point. But clearly, this is a common practice among themselves. So it could have been an accident, but the fact of the matter is, it happened so readily that, you know, even if it was an accident, it was like, you know, it happened.
But like, look at what Gomez said at the funeral. He's like, oh, well, I mean, not at the funeral, but he said about the funeral that, yes, cyanide is undetectable. And I'm just like...
Well, he did. Well, he also made that a point because Uncle Fester had a bottle of cyanide, and Morticia even grabbed it, and she's like, cyanide. She's like, she looks at him. She's like we would run out of it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
So she made that point. That, you know, he made that point from time to time about that because Uncle Fester had a bottle of cyanide. So yeah, I think that it's more of the fact that it's a practice that they do.
It's a practical joke.
It's a practical joke that goes too far.
The old cyanide prank. Just like
Doc's dead every time.
Like you saw in Addams Family Values, when Gomez was playing around with Fester, They wrestled, and then he started throwing daggers at him, nearly missing
Yeah.
his head. So it's
That was
like,
nice.
it's a common practice with the family that they would target each other and do some really what we would consider crazy and insane, because that's their MO.
But
They're
with that,
kooky, they're spooky, they like the macabre, they are not of mainstream. They're basically gothic aesthetic, like the black gothic uh
the clothing,
yeah,
the art style.
yeah, the
But you know
art
what?
style, everything is completely not of mainstream at
But
all.
but you know what? Not think about it. What if they were a family of assassins? Just think about it. Like you're saying, like they practice trying to kill each other. Wouldn't that be something
Well,
common in that
also
kind of
here's
family?
this. Here's another thing that I would also have to disagree with you there. When times get tough, they really stick out for each other. Yeah, sure, they have a twisted way of having fun, but when it comes down to people trying to subdue them, and they even have a Latin term, usually most houses have a motto. Their motto is basically they gladly feast on those who would subdue them. So when it comes to people trying to get in their way and trying to pull them apart, they have shown in 2 movies that they are willing to basically fricassee the person who's causing them trouble and agita to one of their own. So
But I'm just saying, like as a general practice, like
I think you are right. No. And I think she is right. They do dumb shit that might get them killed, and then it'll get them killed, and then they'll celebrate them dying.
yeah, that's
that's
like
true.
what is it? Morticia basically explained how soon they will be like, 6 feet under in matching caskets in the ground with matching tombstones, and Gomez was elated with this idea.
Yeah.
He's like, our corpses will be rotting for all eternity together, and he was like extremely happy about that. The fact is, it's not
That's true
necessarily,
love.
yeah.
That's
The
all you
fact
say
is,
about
he
it.
will forever be with his wife. That's all he cares about.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's very interesting. Gomez is a very interesting character, and
Yeah,
in himself, he's very interesting because he has this weird, not weird, but he has this like childlike enthusiasm about everything that he does.
yeah. Like the train aspect.
Oh yeah.
Like when he was
Oh.
going through a panic attack, he was playing with his model trains. Now, clearly, playing with the trains is not necessarily a good thing, because when Morticia was in her room with the kids, and they're like looking at her, and they're like, "Uh-oh, Dad's playing with his trains again." So that means that he's not in the best of moods. So this is how he kind of expresses it,
Mhm.
by playing with his trains and basically blowing half of the trains to hell. So pretty much, like, yeah.
That's interesting. I forgot about that. That's interesting. Oh man,
So much
that
weird,
movie's just a
awesome stuff.
It's fun. It's a very fun movie. I would recommend anybody to watch it for Halloween. Raul Julia, the late great Raul Julia is just wonderful. He's a treasure. He's an American treasure. He made him Angelica, the whole entire cast, from Angelica Houston with her, she's just stunning. She's just stunning, across the board. Of course, Christina Ricci. A lot of people did assume that because she started doing goth and very dark movies at a young age, she continued to do so, which makes sense. She did Casper, she did Curse, she did Getting Away with Murder,
Yeah.
which is a series based around 18th century, and she was basically a mass murderer. but nobody suspect her because why? She was a woman, and usually women are basically dainty little frightened things, So Christina Ricci and Christopher Lloyd as Uncle Fester, it was great.
See, I still can't get over the fact that Christopher Lloyd played Uncle Fester. I still can't get over that. I watched this movie to this day. I'm like, holy shit, that's Christopher Lloyd. God, it's just it's crazy because I'm used to I'm like I've always known him as the guy from Back to the Future,
Doc
like
Brown.
Back to the Future. Doc Brown, yeah. Sorry, brain went through stroke period.
It's okay.
And
It's
I
not
was
like
like,
the.
yeah, that's what I was like. Oh, no. What? Keep going.
No, I was gonna say, keep going.
Oh, but no. It's one of those things. Like you look at him in that movie without the hair and the extra weight. It could have been anything. It could have been like a bodysuit or whatever, but still, it doesn't look like him. And until you hear the voice, it's like, holy shit, that's Christopher Lloyd. It's just insane.
And they did it. Then they did a good job. They sold the illusion. Which, by the way, there's a couple of animes that I like to watch for Halloween as well. Like, actually, in recent year, Promise Neverland is up there for Halloween.
Oh my god, Promise Neverland is amazing.
Because of the fact of how the suspense and just how these kids are basically 12 going on 30 trying to survive this crazy situation that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
So between Promise Neverland, I would definitely watch Hellsing. Castlevania is another one.
Promise Neverland is only one season or two seasons?
One season. The second season, which I'm waiting for, which will come out next year in January.
Okay, because I watched the first season on Netflix and it was fantastic.
I know. I love that. I love that show so much.
It's so good, but I don't know. Like, how like you've seen so many like bad movies where it starts out so good that you hope that it doesn't mess up the next part of it. That's what I really hope, because it's
knock on wood.
Oh, it's so perfect. Everything is beautiful about it, from like the vampire rose to like
the Vitas, the Vitas, which is ironically, oh god, it's ironic, really, the Vitas, because in Latin it means life.
Yeah.
And they're vampiric plants. So, for that to happen, and it turns red when it drains the blood out of.
Don't start.
And I'm like,
perfect.
Yeah, I'm like, the irony is screaming in my head, and I'm like, oh my god. And
yeah, no, you're right.
You guys know me very, very well. Just this. The
sight of blood dripping.
No, you're right. You're right. No, you're absolutely right. It's that there's that contradiction there, but also it's just such a perfect plot device that like it's like that.
It sets the tone.
Gift of life for something else. No, because it's that gift of life for something else, that you're taking life away from something to give it to something else. Because I'm assuming that the plant only survives on blood. Until I get further information, that's what I'm going to think.
Well, also here's an interesting. What you sometimes you give flowers to whom? What does another bouquet of flowers mean?
Well, I understand. It symbolizes love. It symbolizes sorrow.
But it also symbolizes thank you.
Interesting. That's interesting. I never thought of that.
When you throw a bouquet at somebody who makes a performance, you're saying thank you. You're saying thank you. You did a beautiful performance. Thank you. This is also a way of saying I appreciate you. I appreciate you for what you're doing. You usually get a bouquet of flowers. Yeah. This, however, is a symbolization, a horrible one at that, sort of like the demon saying thank you in a way. And it's like, it's so cringy. It is cringy because of the fact that, especially the fact that, saying thank you to the humans that are doing this, or is it this thank you to the children? And the fact is, the children had no choice in this in the matter. They did not know anything about this, not
Oh
at
yeah.
all. So to basically say this is sort of like that's what makes it so uncomfortable and so disjointed.
Oh
And
yeah.
and it's those little things that can make or break a story.
Well, okay. When it comes to little things, look at how many little things have had to happen to put the kids into this position.
What?
One kid had to have the very rare disorder of remembering everything from when they were born. You know how
Right.
rare that is? Even in real life, that is really rare.
Rare,
And then
yeah.
on top of that, you had to have the perfect amount of people and the perfect planning to get a bunch of kids who are all 12 to like what, 5? And then on top of that, that one kid, oh god, I can't. It's insane.
Which one?
It's
Who?
the kid that actually has the same disease as the guy that remembers everything, and he
Um,
ends up being the friend. He's this next he's the next, not victim, but he's the next friend of the caretaker. Oh god, what's his name? Oh god,
Norman?
I think yeah, Norman. He's
Norman
like
is.
the 5-year-old. I think he's the 5-year-old or the 3-year-old who he
Oh, you
also
mean?
knows.
Oh, no, Phil.
yeah.
Oh, Phil, the one who was really smart.
Yeah,
The one
Phil,
who
because
who
he has
he
the same
put
disease. He
he,
remembers everything too.
he put two and two. He's like, I knew something was wrong. He cried a little bit, but he's like, I knew something wrong with this house.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa.
I
I
know.
was like, like Phil is like really like it's creepy. Not only the fact of it's creepy that you live in a universe where technically humans are not necessarily the top of the
They're
food
not the
chain.
apex of the food chain.
Yeah, they're not. Well, I mean, not saying that being apex predator is all that great either,
But they're
because
usually the predominant of the chain.
right. But
Technically, humans are not top of the food chain. We're just top of the food chain because of our brains. We don't have anything to defend ourselves in the wild unless you have a gun with you.
yeah, no, you're 100% right.
Give me a rock and I'll show you otherwise.
Give me a rock.
Calm down there. Okay, first of all, calm down there, Minecraft boy.
First
Come
off,
on.
Hey,
we don't use Minecraft. We play Lord of the Flies here.
Minecraft, what, you gonna punch a tree? You gonna punch a tree?
No, I'm just gonna get a kid named Piggy to do everything.
Lord of the Flies, stop that. You go home.
Beelzebub, that's all.
But
Sorry,
no, going back to the main story.
Yes.
But no, it's the fact, not necessarily being an apex predator is considered to be the loveliest job or loveliest thing. It's just how long, like there's just a lot of questions. Like, how long has this been going on? How, like,
You have no idea.
yeah, like,
no idea.
How did these demons get into power like this? This is like one of the reasons why I know I'm gonna be tooting each other's horns. I apologize, the audience, but a lot of stories that have vampires in it, not only the fact that you don't know they're vampires, but you get a little bit of an estimate of how long they've been pulling this.
Exactly.
Like, at least in Blade, it seemed like it's been going on for quite some time.
No, you're right.
It's been going on, like,
just like Daybreakers,
right.
same thing, bringing it back. Daybreakers.
Yeah, it's been like, this is like going into the near future, or like at least another decade or so. You have at least a timeline. Here, you don't know what's another scary component about this is you don't know how long this has been going, and especially the fact of how organized this thing is.
Mm-hmm. I'm still
They
trying
must
to
be
figure
running.
out.
They must have been running game for a long time to set this up like this.
So what my initial theory is after the end of it is that, you know how they were talking about how they get stuff from the outside world, like there's ways to get stuff out from the outside world. I'm thinking that this is that it's the enemy of my enemy is my
My
friend.
friend.
And I think something happened because okay, humans still exist.
Yeah.
And I think something bigger is out there and the kids are there and this whole breeding thing is there to let them survive because they need their help. That's what I'm thinking. Or it's the fact
Do
that
you think it's like so basically you're comparing this to sort of like a Girl Logan situation?
never stole girl login. You have to explain.
Oh, shoot. Okay. I'm sorry everybody. I'm going to release some spoilers because of the fact that Girl Logan has been around for at least for a decent amount of time. It came out in the mid 2000s.
Oh god.
Along with
2006.
a little bit after Kill la Kill. Kill la Kill came out like back in 2013. So
Okay.
like Girl Logan came out like maybe a year or two afterwards. Well, basically is this. The main villain that they set up in the anime is called Lord Genome.
Okay.
Lord Genome has been killing humans to keep the population down. Actually, he's not the main villain. He is what you would call a red herring. And what he has been doing is he's technically indirectly was a quote unquote hero in his own mind. He was
Okay.
killing off the population because as soon as the population rate reached a certain amount of people,
Okay.
this other sort of like a group of aliens from another world would come and attack the planet and kill everybody.
Interesting.
So basically, Lord Genome was what you just described. That the demons that they're basically giving these children to are protecting the humans from something else out there. So this is sort of like their way of basically, okay, I rub your back, you rub my back.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. Remember, this whole thing started because they want 12-year-olds for a sacrifice.
Yeah, but I don't
So
I don't think it's the case. It's like
maybe.
and
I
because
mean,
I'm sorry, I keep comparing. Let's face it, the story Nekos Bake Nekos or the story of
Two-Tailed
Bastet
Cat.
is like my favorite lore. Vampires are like my second favorite lore.
okay.
And one of the things that I noticed with these demons is they share a lot of their intelligence is pretty much on par with vampires.
Yes, but see, these demons could also be aliens too, because they never establish what they are.
Yeah, they could be aliens too. We don't know. But yeah, we don't know. All we
So
know
they
is
could be aliens trying to stop something else, or they could be demons trying to stop something else also, or
not.
they just
Or
that they fought humans to a standstill, or they got rid of all humans and these are the last humans in existence. And we
Yeah,
have a bunch
so-
of 12-year-olds running around trying to save the world.
right. So
Which,
like
unless they somehow get superpowers, they're screwed. Sorry.
well no,
Season
it's,
5.
you're 100% right because if anything like how unfortunately we as humans have done is we cultivated animals for certain purposes.
Yes.
That's what farming basically is. The same way vampires would basically now they got really cozy with blood bangs, or they feel it's a lot now they understand that just killing your victims off doesn't really help you.
Yeah, of course.
Especially if it's somebody that, has a certain type of blood type that you technically like, or whatever their dietary situation is, and the vampires technically take a shine to something like that, they would want to replicate that as much as they can.
Okay. Okay. I can agree with that. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So, but again, this doesn't necessarily gives the motives to the opposition. They might just be apex predators, and this is how they just do things at this point. No rhyme, no reason. This is how they do things. They
to make
could,
it easier for them.
right? They could possibly be like, okay, they could have a sort of like symbiotic relationship, But now if you want to imply that type of variable in it, then you're going to have to ask, what is this other creature, and what does that creature do to the demons in return?
It's gonna be the
Mhm.
angels.
Right.
Well, just from
we don't
listening a
know,
little
we
bit.
don't know if angels
Babies?
exist in this.
Children? No.
No.
Well, there are some
No.
cultures where the angels
Because-
were as bad as the devils. I mean, look what we talked
Yeah.
about
Oh
Spawn
my god, this
earlier.
is the universe of
Seven-
Evangelion. It's the
Or
Evangelion
Seven
universe.
Deadly Sins. If you've seen the recent episodes of Seven Deadly
So
Sins,
long.
the angels are not really nice people. They're basically racist on top of that, and they're all one of them is completely obsessed with perfection. A lot of angels are like that, but that also could be running into the fact of, hey, in Japanese culture, they often, talk about religious standing or religious
Beliefs.
beliefs in that light. For example, one of my other favorite animes, Black Butler. The main villain is a demon. The main villain is this demon, and his main objective is why he likes this this young boy made a pact with him, and he wants to eat his soul. One of the adversaries, or the first adversary that they actually come upon, is an angel, and the angel is obsessed with perfection. The queen wants to be young for all eternity.
Hmm.
So yeah, I wouldn't be, now you're adding variables to the pot. We don't know what's going on. We're still asking a lot of questions.
It's like 10 episodes long, and I'm like, I want to know more.
Well, that goes to show that the writer did their job. That they made you hooked on their series. They made you hooked on their series, and you are looking. Sorry, you're looking to add more. You want more of it, and they got you hooked. That's mainly what it is. They got you hooked.
Oh, no, they did. 100%, they definitely did.
I gotta give this a shot sometime.
Well, one last thing I do want to say before I because I do have to get going soon, because I do have to work in the morning.
Oh.
No.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
realize how late it got.
Yeah, well, we got really engrossed in our conversations, and I thought, just recently I was looking at, like, every so often I look up like mythologies and stuff like that, and I like to read. What I would like to have done is, they always associate vampires. I know I'm talking about. Anyway,
That's okay.
besides
Well, it's the Halloween
So,
episode, so it's okay.
I enjoy the vampire stuff, so if you have any good recommendations, so quick tangent, my thing is that I like alternate realities. So
Okay.
I read 3 books now on what would happen if we lost World War II and Germany and Japan took over the US. Very interesting. Keep going, sorry.
Wolfenstein.
That sounds like, was it Red Castle? Something of
Man in the High Castle, and then there's
Thank
also
you, Men in the High
and then
Castle.
there's also 2 books called United States of Japan and Mecha Samurai Empire, where they both look at what the U.S., what the West Coast would look like if Japan won.
Well, thank God we don't live in that reality. I'll
Never
just say that. Thank God we don't live in that reality. But
Alright, keep going, bunch of vampires.
but
Tell me.
what I was looking at is, one of the things that I'm slightly disappointed at, or what I would like to see in future, is, people are afraid to tackle the vampire lore again, because of the fact of what impact that Twilight had on it.
Oh God, don't start.
I know. I'm one of the few people that also don't care for it as well, and what have you.
Few people.
Huh?
Few people. I don't like. I think the hatred of Twilight was there because it ruined vampires for a lot of people, but also not the acting, but just the storytelling was just
Bad writing.
utter trash.
I won't say. Okay, one thing I will say, and this is in Twilight's defense. The reason why I don't, my personal beef with it is because of the fact that the writing was just horrible and the characters were just terrible. The representation of, remember, it's a
The mythologies.
fantasy. It's a fantasy made for a particular demographic.
Yes.
So I wouldn't blame the demographic for this. However, I do not like the fact that she has no agency. The character is very bland. She's
Thank you.
basically stereotypically the damsel in distress, and she only shows any type of interest or her sense of self through men-based characters. She doesn't have a sense of self. There's
No.
Well,
there
so it's
is-
easier to insert the reader into that character, kind of like the silent protagonist in video games. I guess that's kind of the
but
writing.
there are many silent protagonists that are very interesting.
True,
they
but
might not-
that's why
They
the
might
writing
not
is
say
that
a
way, though.
word, but their their actions, or their sense of comedy and dynamic comes from their actions alone and body language.
Okay, but first of all, I had this conversation with a friend of mine. She read the books, and so Bella's character is supposed to be like that. She's supposed to be very apathetic and everything. My
The
problem
books
is
are,
that
are
My problem
Okay.
is that throughout the entire movie, nothing made sense. You're both 18, you decide to have a freaking. And then, for some reason, your father doesn't know that you went to Italy to have a child with a vampire and then became a vampire. That's what I'm pissed off about. Like, we're just going to let the father just be there in Washington in the cold, not knowing what happened to his daughter. This is some bullshit. 'Cause,
also
my
here.
God.
Also, here's another thing, and also in Twilight's defense, I'm not upset with the sparkling thing, and here's the reason why. Vampires in various lore, in various lores, vampires were either hungry ghosts, undead, or even fae folk. Vampires were considered fae folk as well.
Really?
And I found, they were also hungry or tainted fae folk. So to a certain extent, I kind of waived it after a while. At first, I was knee-jerk reaction. I was not happy about it, but then again, vampires are pretty much like dragons. Every
Yeah.
single culture has a different viewpoint of what dragons are, and they usually are amalgamations of various different animals. Vampires are amalgamation of different things that are considered to be unexplainable.
You're right. No, you're
And
right.
also the amalgamation of the human condition, mainly the worst parts of the human condition.
No, you're
So,
right.
with that said, you can play around with the vampire lore on numerous occasions. It is endless of how many combinations. But going back to what I mainly wanted to talk about, my issue with the vampire lore as of recently is they always associate vampires with European culture. Which there's nothing wrong because of which is not necessarily wrong. I get it, part of Irish culture, and then on top of that, Bram Stoker's Dracula hit Pater.
Yeah, of course.
Made a good manga too, I'll tell you that much.
Right, exactly. But I've looked through several other cultures that have interesting concepts of vampires, like the Jiangshi, which is the Chinese version of a vampire. I've only seen 2 bits of media or 3 bits of media that has something like that, and I would like to explore that a little bit more. Instead of blood, they drink mainly life force or drain life force. We often associate that with the succubus. The biggest one that I would like to see is called, it's an African tale of South Africa called the lightning bird.
Wait, isn't
Never heard
it? Is
this
that
one.
okay? Hold on, wait. Let me look at the lightning bird first.
Type
That
in
sounds very interesting.
type in vampiric lightning bird South Africa. It's a very interesting little blip. Wikipedia, they go into detail about that. If you go on several websites, they actually talk about it. It's a bit of like, mythologies of Africa, and the lightning bird is considered to be a parasitic bird that's said to be feeds on blood. It has, like, what a Zapdos looks like?
Yeah, I was gonna say I see that in the picture.
It looks exactly like a Zapdos, but it's like black and white, and it has a long nose like a Zapdos does. And it's said that by flapping its wings, it creates thunder, and it's from its talons, it creates lightning bolts. However, it's said that in its human form, comes off as a very, very handsome male. And he basically seduces women in various villages to basically drain them, fill in the blanks here.
No. It's interesting.
And usually they're often accompanied with a witch. Usually lightning birds are often servitude to witches. However, there are some lightning birds that do wander off alone. They often, between the lightning bird and the witches, however, if they are bonded with each other, usually in animal form, the witches come off as hyenas, and the lightning bird was often riding on the backside of a hyena. If you've seen in the savannah, birds like to perch on either rhinos or hyenas at times.
Yeah.
Usually they're scavengers. They eat the leftovers and meat and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's said that if the lightning bird is not passed on from one witch to another, mainly mother to daughter, the lightning bird will eat the witch.
That makes sense.
So,
wait a second. Sorry, I'm reading the wiki right now, and as you said that, it said that, however, should a witch fail to pass her down, the bird will become an Ishologu, a masterless force of chaos and destruction, and that sounds badass. I'm not gonna lie.
So I would, I was actually thinking about this later on down the road after I finish my main manga that I'm doing, or maybe I will have a character that represents that particular type of vampire, because there's just so many that like dragons. Every single culture has their version of dragons. Every single culture seems to have their own version of vampire. And I thought this was like very interesting, and we don't hear a lot about like folklore from Africa that much. We hear about Greek gods, we hear about Norse gods a lot, like to the point where it's tragic, in my opinion.
Oh
There's,
yeah.
There's other pantheons that you could actually look to. Of course, with the spread of anime, you have the Shinto gods, often now. But you were saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. But I think that's due to the written mythology of it, that there's not much written mythology about African folklore. It's more by
oral, yeah.
It's oral. It's not written down. Like, I think that's the problem. Like, not the problem. I think that's one of the reasons why it hasn't been not modern. I would say modernized into like what it is now, because I think because mostly South American folklore is slowly making its way into media now.
Yeah, actually, the last time I saw, like, South, like you said, South America, the first time I saw some type of inkling of South American folklore was like From Dusk Till Dawn, the series, and then you have Coco, and then you have The Book of Life.
I'd actually recommend
but I think
Six Miles too as well.
That's not really, that is folklore, but that's more holidays that are known holidays. I'm talking like look at oh my god, what's that Aztec movie? Apocalypto. Apocalypto is very, very, very heavily in. I think Apocalypto would be a good example of that.
Or Penny Dreadful, the recent one, the City of Angels, where they actually talk about the goddess of death in South American culture.
Okay.
That kind of reminds me of. Have you guys ever heard of Ses Manos?
Interesting. How about
Ses Manos?
Isn't that the goddess of death? Saint.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's her.
I believe so, but it was a Netflix series I watched. It takes place in Mexico. It's a very good series I'd recommend for Halloween as well. It's got martial arts and mysticism. They actually had a witch character on the show.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's the same people who did Castlevania. They did the animator. The animator did Saint. Sant Menos, as well as this new series that just came out called The Blood of Zeus.
I'm gonna watch that after we're done with the podcast. Now I think about it. But
Wait. Okay, wait. Go back. Sorry, I'm looking up movies with South American folklore. I am so sorry. So
No,
It's alright, man.
it's okay. The point of me bringing it up is I love culture, I love mythology, I love folklore, and vampires being so high on my lore list. I hear it in media often that they always refer to Dracula, but it's like, I trust me, I love Dracula. Heck, Helsing is my all-time favorite anime, and Alucard is technically my husbando, so it's like,
we found it. We have it now. Write it down, quick. Write it down.
it's only one of them.
oh,
The Wikia.
God.
We need it for a Wikia page.
Wikia page for what?
We've only been around for 3 episodes. We can't do a Wikia page. We gotta wait till episode 6 when we write it on stream.
What are you talking about?
You'll find out in 2
Sorry.
episodes.
Oh, I think I opened Pandora's box by accident.
No, it's okay.
Oh no, this was
No,
planned
it's not
already.
okay.
No, this is chaos that was gonna happen no matter what. You just
There's always chaos.
I
elevated
just outed myself. Okay.
No, it's okay.
Well, anyway.
Well, if it's any consolation, I had a crush on Sailor Mercury when I was younger. And Jupiter.
Well, the damage is done. Actually, I love Sailor Jupiter and Mercury. They're like my favorite, but like my favorite scouts. My inner scouts, but my favorite Sailor Scout of all time is Sailor Saturn. But besides the point. I hear
For the
all
wiki.
about, the European the Irish folklore of it, and Dracula a lot, but they don't talk about, like, and I know about Strigoli, Nosferatu and all that, but they never talk about any other cultures besides those.
I
I think
think
that's because
folklore-
those have generated the most money and interest. That's what caused them to become what they are now. Is that's where the folklore started, and they want to stay as close to it. I mean, not as close to, but as similar as possible. Because look at the vampires from Underworld, and they were all roughly the exact same. And it took.
And that's boring, though. After a while, it gets boring.
No,
And
you're right. You're
True.
absolutely right. Like,
And,
But
you
then he
know,
has more
for
action
so
film.
much.
and people are like, I've heard, like, when I was, started to really talk about my manga a little bit more and stop being so reserved with it. A lot of people I hear, it's like, oh, you're doing a manga? And I was like, yeah, it's a fantasy epic and supernatural stuff, and it has like vampires in it. It's like, really? They're like, we haven't gotten a good anime with vampires in a long time, blah blah blah. And besides Castlevania, because Castlevania is basically a game, so you're gonna have a cult following. But as far
Yes.
as a unique standing of vampires, as unique as Helsing,
Oh yeah, Helsing. Well, see, Helsing had its own appeal because of how gory it was, and it was just
yeah,
beautifully gory.
but also, let's face it, Alucard made the show.
Oh, he did.
they just
made the
love
show.
cannons. All I
Rolling
gotta
in there,
say.
fucking shit up.
Yeah, and also the fact of how like even just his psychology and how he reacted to certain things was just like it was crazy.
Oh, yeah. He
It
didn't
was
care.
crazy. Well, not
But
only
see-
that. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
but
say he
also-
didn't
no,
care. It's more the
It's
fact
kinda
that
funny because it's not like he didn't care, but like he was so, I'm gonna say, apathetic to the fact that like shit was going on around him that he just wanted, like, he's kind of like that same old trope that if you live forever you're gonna want to feel like you want to die.
yeah, he's
Played out in real life. Like he
I
just
guess.
wanted a good fight to see if he could finally die.
yeah, he was
also-
bored. He was extremely, incredibly bored. He is a person. He's not. He's not. He's not.
He
No,
was
he's
a
not
person at one
He's
point.
far from a person.
He's far from a person. But he is the most powerful vampire and
the world.
warrior in the world, and nobody can hold a candle. And he's an aristocrat too. He's a prince of no doubt. So actually, no, I'm sorry. He's a king. He's a king. They call him the No Life King on purpose.
Yeah.
That's because he's on Twitter all day.
But
Stop
nobody can hold a candle to him,
it.
and it's just
Okay,
like
vampire-wise, yes, but I think there has to be at least. There could possibly be somebody that could beat Alucard.
Well,
how
Anderson.
the only person who came close was Von Helsing, and that's why he's in the situation that he's in now. Is because Von Helsing was the one who subdued him. And ever since then, he wanted a fight similar to that because, well, like I said, he is bored. He's extremely bored. Everybody else doesn't hold a candle to him. They oftenly get crushed or killed by using
The littlest
only
of energy.
a smidge of his power. Like, why do you think he respects Anderson so much? Even though I hate the guy, he's a jerk. He's a
Stop
jerk.
it. Anderson, I love Anderson because
Anderson.
because of the whole unabridged version. I just can't stop saying, "What in the blood-soaked Protestant hell is this?" It's just perfect. It is. I can't stop. I love it so much.
I don't like Anderson in both versions because he's nothing more than he's a pious, self-righteous jerk who doesn't necessarily take a shine to people that are different.
I know, but
That's kind of a.
And I don't
Welcome
like
to the Catholic Church.
Yeah, he's a characterization of the church at that time.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Basically, that snippet of our podcast just represented by the abridgment is like, oh, great! It's like, oh, great! It's the Catholic Church. It's like, oh, he's like, oh.
Inquisition.
He's like, oh great, it's the Catholic Church. He's like, oh great, it's the Catholic Church.
Exactly.
So it's like you can't win. You can't win no matter what you do. So it's like, you know. but the main point is he's bored. Nobody can hold a candle to him, and he wants somebody similar to the person that defeated him before.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he was so adamant of having a human defeat him.
Yep.
Because he took the route at have you seen Yu Yu Hakusho at all? Which is another series that everybody should watch during Halloween.
Of course.
I got one better for that, but after your point.
He basically Alucard is Toguro.
Yeah, basically.
He wants to be proven wrong for his choice. He felt that, that no matter how hard life is, as a human, your life is more worthwhile because of the fact that
you could lose it at any moment.
You're living the moment, and your life is finite. It's not forever.
Exactly.
So,
So going back to vampires, I think you're right about the fact that they haven't done anything else, because I just realized Dracula has been in every media. For God's sakes, he was beaten up by Batman.
I know, right? And I
have that. How many times does that happen now, actually?
What?
What?
How many times has Batman actually fought Dracula? I know there was the one with the 2000s cartoon.
It was in the movie.
It's a movie, yeah.
But that's the only one I can think of. Because
then there's a comic where he became
and then you
Dracula.
Have which
there is a comic, and
yeah,
there's a comic, and Batman turns into a vamp. I think that's in World 20.
And Catwoman becomes a werewolf.
Yeah, she becomes a werewolf or a werecat.
Yeah, but then that was the movie back in 2000 whatever. Was from Batman, not the animated series.
Batman
the cartoon series.
It's just called the Batman.
Yeah, it's just called the Batman. But then you have Vampire Joker, which is kind of crazy. Not gonna lie.
That was a very interesting take.
That thing was it was really cool, but it was just like
creepy, unsettling.
Not just that, it was like, holy crap! You made one of the scariest villains without any superpowers, and you gave him the ability of an undead vampire. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I don't know. I felt like that was like
perfect. I compare it more to what's it called? The Batman Who Laughs from the Dark Metal series.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like you give Batman the strongest human in the world. He is the strongest human. I will fight you on that.
Krillin's stronger.
Powers of the Joker. So that means you're taking every psychological limiter off of Batman. That
Yeah,
is
that's fair
insane
enough.
to me.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say, let's wrap
Is that-
things up now. It's getting a little late.
Wrap up.
yeah. I still gotta walk the dogs.
Oh no.
I do
Okay,
have.
Vampire is really cool. Watch Promise Neverland. We'll talk about it some more, and we will fangirl over it.
Make sure to watch El Super Beasto.
Maybe we should do just one episode just dedicated to vampires. How's that?
Interesting. That'd be interesting. We could do that.
I'm down for that.
Because it seems like
We'll do it for Christmas.
huh?
We'll do it for Christmas.
We'll
Oh,
see.
great! A
The
bloody
Vampire Christmas special.
a vampire Christmas special. That would be very interesting.
You mean the Nightmare
kinda like
Before
the
Christmas?
Halloween. Like what?
Well, because if the schedule is right, we should be doing this the Wednesday before Christmas. So would it be
Okay,
the
fair
Nightmare Before Christmas episode?
It would be the Vampire Before Christmas.
Oh God. What have I
About
done?
the bite before the
What have I
winter
done?
delights.
Kind of just as bad as like the werewolf in London. It'll be like the vampire at Christmas, and then you show the vampire the love of Christmas and the joys of Christmas, and his cold heart, begins to beat once again, kind of like in that terrible zombie movie
You mean
where
like
they
The
were
Grinch?
at a. Well, no, it's oh God, what
Warm
was
Bodies.
it? Where the two teenagers fall in love.
Warm Bodies.
Yeah, Warm Bodies. It'll be like that. The vampire will have its heart warmed by the joys of Christmas, and then murder the family.
Jeez.
Or he has a heart attack. Because his heart suddenly starts
No,
beating after
no.
not beating for so long.
No, because I want a real M. Night Shyamalan twist ending where nobody expects it.
But everybody does expect it because it's M. Night Shyamalan.
I take full responsibility for this. Yeah.
Oh, we're just this level of weird no matter what we do.
All right. So, yeah, I think it's time for me to bow out now. Okay.
Good night, everyone. Have a pleasant night.
Happy
Ladies and
Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Enjoy the evening. Whoever you.
You send sugars on my